Welcome back to another edition of the CompetitionPlus.com audio magazine. I'm Joe Castello, and today we have got a great opportunity to catch up with the General in his return, Tim Richards. Tim, welcome to the show.
How you doing, Joe?
How are you, sir? Welcome back to the sport of drag racing.
Well, I'm excited to get back into the mix, and we'll see how it goes.
Now, we've been watching you for a lot of years. Of course, 6 championships, 81 national event victories, 20 years spent with Joe Amato, and then 8 years with Kenny Bernstein, and then some time away from the sport. Before we get back into your return, let's talk a little bit about what you and Kim did while you were away. It's such an active sport with all the travel and the mental challenges, and then you're retired. What was that like, Tim?
Well, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good feeling. We moved to St. Petersburg, Florida, and we have a house on the water, and we have a boat right out in front of the house. And when we feel like going on the boat, we go on the boat, and if we don't, then we don't. But it's a very comfortable life, and we like it very much.
Now, during that period, coming from basically 28 years of extremely high activity, high stress in the competitive world of drag racing, to going to a situation that is relaxed, that you just said, did that ever have you waking up on some days looking for a challenge, looking for something to activate your mind?
Oh, absolutely. That's the thing that you miss is the challenge of being the best on that particular day. I mean, it's something that you just don't get away from, and in this particular sport, you're reminded of where you were every week, and because it's on television all the time, and it just goes on. It's very much different than retiring from Sears and Roebuck or Penny's or something like that. You don't see them on TV every week after you leave.
Now, a lot of drivers that I've spoken with will say that they will avoid it for exactly that reason, that they won't put on the television, and they'll maybe catch some information on the web, but they didn't want to put themselves in the position to feel like they were missing it. What about you? Did you watch every week on TV? Were you keeping up with everything that happened?
We tried to keep up with it. It's not something that I love the sport, and I love the way NHRA runs their business, and it's something that it's been my life, our life really, together for a long time, and it's not something that I feel like I want to just lock out of my life. Like the people that were over here are really our closest friends. They're still in the business, and it's not something I want to lock out. I mean, I could have just as well said no when asked to come back, but it kind of the challenge of doing something like this is that's the thing that pulls you back a little bit, whether we can pull it off or not. I mean, it's not an easy thing to leave the sport for 2.5 years and then just turn your brain on again and get back to a speed, especially when you haven't had the chance to do some testing and learn your people and learn the whole deal again. It's going to be difficult.
We're speaking with the General, Tim Richards, coming out of retirement to tune for NAPA driver Ron Capps at Don Schumacher Racing. Now, Tim, there's a lot of ground between getting the itch and thinking, hey, I might feel like I want to come back, and making an announcement that you are coming back. Tell me a little bit about when you first started getting the feeling like, it might be time to go back racing again.
Well, I think the stint that we put in last year during the summertime with the Pro Mod thing sort of like is the reason we figured that, like we weren't over it at that point, and that sort of re-energized us a lot, and we enjoyed our time over there. And those cars are very, very interesting, very difficult cars to drive, and they're pretty fast too, and that really re-energized us, sort of thinking like we might want to do something again.
And here you are back racing once again. You just referenced going from a 0 to, and we'll call it 300 miles per hour, being out of the sport to now being back in the sport. That must be an incredible challenge, catching up with the technology and the styles of what's going and what is current right now in the crew chiefing world. I know people that step away from the sport for 2 months and come back and something new has been developed. There's a new version of how you tackle a certain issue, and obviously it's a competitive endeavor, and so that's exactly how people get the leg up on each other, by evolving and finding new solutions. How much of a challenge is that for you to go from out of it to getting up to speed? Is that your biggest challenge?
That's absolutely my biggest challenge. I've had the fortune of being able to have the help of other teams in the Schumacher organization, and that's a big plus for me as far as getting what they run, like right off the bat, and then trying to put it within this team. No two cars are alike. You can set two cars up exactly the same. If you're on two different teams, there's a whole different set of people working on them. You can make them pretty close, except in the clutch area. They all have a different clutch package in them. But as far as like the major components and what you're going to do with them, that information has been given to us by Ron Tobler, and this car is set up very, very similar to Beckman's. But as I said, the clutch is never the same. The people that work on them are never the same. The weight of the driver is different. So the car is different. I mean, it's just different. And, recognizing as to, how well everybody works and how accurate the work is. And what I have always strived in the past was, like, you have to get the car mechanically correct before you can even learn a thing about how your tune-up is. And I'm not sure that I don't think I'm at that point yet where I have that, and I know I'm not at the point where, as far as myself, I'm still on my heels somewhat as to, like what to do and fast enough to do it, think fast enough. I'm not back to that speed yet, but I expect we'll get there. It's just a matter of time before we get there, and it's, I understand the owner, like the owner wants results, and, it's a business for him, and certainly this organization, there's 7 cars run out of it. It's a big business, and it has its own problems within it because it is so big, and has many advantages also.
We're speaking with Tim Richards as he makes his return to crew chiefing and tuning in the NHRA for Ron Capps. Tim, you kind of come as a package deal with wife Kim, both of you heavily involved with this sport forever, really, and really able to build your relationship with the framework of drag racing always in the background. How excited is she about getting back involved with nitro drag racing?
Well, she wasn't quite sure whether, this was the right thing to do or not, but she supports me, and basically in this particular endeavor, she's the, I'm 67 years old at this point, and I need help. I need more help than I ever did, doing this particular job, and she's basically the person I will go to, and we, talk about everything we do, and like the problems that are and how to solve them, and she's my right hand, that's the way it is with us, like she supports it, and that's it.
Now, being away from the sport for a little while and then suddenly re-immersing yourself in it as a drag racing fan, how do you feel about the evolution of the sport from the inside? When you walk around DSR, you already mentioned the level of talent that they have there and the level of technology and equipment they have there. When you think back to what it was like in the 80s and you guys were winning championships, you and Joe Amato rolling out some new innovations to go fast. When you look at how the sport has completely evolved top to bottom with like DSR, for instance, as you mentioned, 7 teams, does that blow your mind exactly how far the sport has come?
Absolutely. It's the technology, especially in the electronics, they've made big strides in the last, probably even in the last 2 years. These cars are far different than they were 3 years ago. It's really amazing as to how far the electronics have gone in these cars. And in many cases, they've made them safer cars to run. I mean, with the automatic shut-offs and, all the controlling features of the electronics, these cars are safer because of it, but it's also more complex. I mean, to say the least, and it's something that I have to learn.
Part of this story, Tim, is what you are getting yourself into with the personalities that you're getting into it, meaning that Ron Capps, many people consider him the greatest driver to have never won a championship. And the NAPA car, kind of a flagship at DSR for their funny car side of their organization, major sponsor, a lot of attention from the NASCAR side. I kind of liken this situation. It's not out of the realm of possibility to be a Hollywood script, frankly. Veteran champion crew chief comes out of retirement to put a well-liked, highly personable driver that is extremely high profile over the top and get him something that he has never gotten before. Almost in the way that Larry McReynolds helped Dale Earnhardt win that Daytona 500. Ron Capps has got something. He's a great driver. We all know that. For whatever reason, snake-bitten, bad luck, tough competition, whatever, hasn't been able to get that championship. Tim Richards, the general, won 6 championships coming in out of retirement to make that happen. That sounds like a Hollywood script to me, Tim.
You know, it may sound that way, but, you know, I view it as like the 6 championships or however many races it was that are on my docket. They don't mean anything right now. It's what you do from this point forward, and I fully agree that Ron Capps, we've got to give him a car that's capable of winning, and I believe that he can carry it out if we can give him the car. You have to work hard at it because this funny car deal is like there's a lot of great cars in here, and it's not easy to win. It's not easy to win a race, you know, as far as that's concerned. But, you know, like we just have to give him a car that's capable of winning, and that's the goal. I mean, that's what has to happen first. And, you know, I understand the pressures of having to win, but you have to do things right first, and then it'll come.
How's your relationship with Ron? He's been so good over these years and the consummate professional. When it was announced that you would be tuning the car, what was his reaction, and how did you guys relate to one another?
Well, I'm not quite sure what he thought of it. You know, like I'm this old guy coming in that's going to help him, you know, and he's not sure about me, and you know, like kind of a hard thing, you know, like I really say that you know, if this car hasn't been winning, I guarantee it's not because of the driver. Certainly not because of the driver. This car, or this team has had this year, this is the 5th different car, new car that's been put in the system in probably 7 races or whatever it is, and I'm basically let's see, probably the 4th different crew chief in the last 8 races that he's had to deal with, and this team has, you know, that's not stability. That's something that has to be fixed. You know, like it has to become stable, and we have to give him a car that he has confidence in, that he can do something with. You know, and that's something we'll have to earn. We'll have to earn his confidence. You know, but as far as winning and losing, he's not the reason this car is not winning. It's been in limbo just because there's been so many changes. I don't know how the crew deals with it. That's a lot of different people to work for that all have a different idea as to how you're supposed to do something, and that's very difficult.
Well, Tim, now you are in control, and the world of drag racing is watching, and I know they are all wishing you the best. It's great to have you back in the sport, and guys, for a lot of people that saw that transition, it's great to see the personalities come back, and happy to have you back out at the racetrack, and I wish you nothing but success. I want to thank you for taking the time for speaking with us on the CompetitionPlus.com audio magazine.
Thanks a lot, Joe.